They dig holes in the ground and support the engineering services to get the hydrocarbons to market. Second is, I'm going to really talk about Verizon Wireless in two capacities. We have an educational program with Verizon Wireless. At the store level, net promotion scores are read every single week on the performance of an individual Verizon Wireless retail outlet. At the corporate level, Verizon Wireless measures 4 elements of their education strategy: the impact on recruitment, retention, job mobility, and job performance. They measure all 4. They report the impact of their tuition assistance program on all 4 parameters to the C-suite every month. Chrysler, while it's still here, my prognosis for the outcome of Chrysler, we've done some research with Chrysler, unfortunately I'm not very optimistic. In Chrysler, it's dealer network, net new car sales, and customer retention. At U.S. Bank, it's net research we've done at U.S. Bank. It's net deposits, net new loans, both dollars and number. And at Sun Microsystems, it's job mobility and salary increases. The importance of this reflection, or this listing, if you will, is that the outcomes are not some holy grail that if we can only decide what the 1 or 2 most important are, we'd have the answer to this business outcome question. It varies from company to company, and my takeaway on the first point about your management alignment is not about the best practice of an outcome, but the alignment of the management that agrees that these are the parameters for your, not these, but the parameters you agreed to in your conversation are the parameters that are important for your organization. It's the management conversation and alignment around the particulars that's critical. Second item, and this is, I think, is, personally, I've come to this relatively recently. The biggest impasse for us is the second item. And that is the challenge to show that the outcome agreed to on the business outcome side of this is to show your management that the results of the business outcome, changes in customer satisfaction, net promotion scores. In the Home Depot, they have store operations, lots of parameters. There's lots of parameters. One of the key aspects of this that I hear in the conversations with learning leaders like yourself is we're unable to show that the outcome measured is related to the learning intervention and not something else. So when we get in the conversation with the finance manager says, oh yeah, you may have had more sales, but we had a promotion that ran then. How do you know the result wasn't the result of the promotion? Or you've delivered the learning to people that were already high potentials. There's lots of comebacks in this arena, and this has been relatively recent conclusion on my part, is this is a core issue in the conversation with senior management. How do you know it was the result of the learning intervention and not something else? In my opinion, this requires capabilities of multivariate statistical analysis and experimental design. The fact is that these are skills not routinely present in learning or HR organizations. Your keynote speaker yesterday, Dr. Jack Phillips, and I disagree on this point, but it's okay that we disagree. It's just a debate about priorities. The third item, and the thing is needed to tell senior management, how much will it cost to design the experiment and do the statistical analysis? In general, learning interventions of about $2 million or more, so the multivariate analysis and experimental design is not for every learning intervention. It takes a certain critical mass to get this level of sophistication. About $2 million or more is the answer, and the answer to how much does it cost is about 3 to 5% of the cost of the intervention. So if it's $2 million total, it's someplace in the $60,000 to $100,000 range to do a multivariate statistical analysis and the experimental design. And I tell you that because we do it routinely at the Human Capital Lab with corporations. Before one dismisses this, I would merely like to point out that there are a large number of learning interventions to aggregate to $130-some billion. Let me summarize what I have to share with you here in the POGO theme. Namely, that we have to turn to ourselves for answers. My recommendations are that measurement is critical to our success in the future. The second point is that we know it is critical, and important to securing the investment capital that we need to address the competitive challenges of the very near future. The third fact is that the elements of success are defined and known. The fourth fact is that the learning profession does not currently have the heritage, experience, nor expertise to conduct the measurements necessary to gain that coveted seat at the table. We have to take our own lessons, namely develop our own skills, just as we do with other parts of our own organization, to have the capabilities to represent the transparency and reporting to be compelling senior decision makers. But lest we leave my conversation with doom and gloom so prevalent in our public discourse these days, I want to leave you with one last upbeat message. It is perfectly feasible for learning leaders to gain the influence and impact measurement and the impact that measurement bestows upon senior leaders. The most critical element blocking access to that positive future resides with us, namely priority and will to implement measurement of business impact viewed as so critical to the future investments that our organizations need. Thank you very much. So I've said a lot of stuff out there. We have a few minutes left. I open it to you to explore, challenge, discuss, debate, whatever you'd like to. Yes? Could you, when you do, one of the things I do in speaking, would you please say who you are and who you're with so I have some context for your comments or questions?
Sure. I'm Charles Zimmerman with Learn.com.
Okay.
And do you see a relationship between the net promotion scores, which are the business asking the clients, would you recommend this, and employee engagement being almost the inverse of that, would you recommend this as a place to work? And a lot of companies now, like Gallup organization, has their strength-based finders.
Q12.
Yeah, and the Franklin Company has the X10. Do you see a lot more companies investing in those kinds of internal measures to get employee engagement going? Because Gallup says that they're exploding with people buying into strength-based organizations, but that's, of course, Gallup talking about their own.
Yeah, Gallup, interesting enough, Gallup is now probably about 6 miles from our campus in Omaha, Nebraska. They moved to a facility in Omaha from Lincoln. They also have offices in Washington, D.C. I'll give you an opinion and respond as an opportunity. This is another conclusion that I've come to relatively recently. I think that we have vastly underestimated the importance of the behavioral and motivational parts of our human capital. And in a world where supply and demand is so much out of balance, the questions of engagement and going beyond, and clients that we're talking to, going beyond kind of the routine aspects of their job description, senior leaders are looking for. The learning activity, we are an accredited institution. The learning activity is what we call an opt-in. So people use their tuition assistance benefits and they opt in for professional development. The bottom line is, you had two parts there. On the net promotion scores, I don't think they're in contrast. They're basically measurements, and the Gallup instruments as well, are basically one outward-facing in terms of the behavioral and motivational aspects, and the other were inward-facing. So Q12 is about engagement, is about inward-facing. Engagement for me is about motivation and behavior. And in a world of connectedness and freedom and mobility of careers, which some of the numbers are staggering about what young people are doing changing jobs, my personal opinion is that if you're looking for a business opportunity, that is a very important part of this equation. The behavior and motivation. It's not simply about the numbers, even though I use a lot of numbers. It is about motivation and behavior. Both, and one of the reasons Gallup is exploding is because corporations, companies, are in fact walking the talk about engagement and opting in, the other kinds of things that are behaviorally related. Great question. Other questions, comments, challenges? Are you as optimistic as I am?
Yes.
Good. So say a little more about that.